Good day, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here at the BBB. And it's also a pleasure. I'm kind of wearing two hats today because I've been, of course, on the board at the BBB for many years. Our mantra at Mr. Fix-It, since I started 40 years ago was you got to give back to the community, take care of the community that takes care of you. So there's that symbiotic relationship. So I kind of am sitting in between here, Mr. Fix-It and then the BBB, and I'm kind of split down the center. I think it's funny. But it's been, a pleasure over the years to help to give back to the community and help to improve our industry a little bit with what we can. And my team, and I'm looking forward to introducing my team, but my team, as me, of course, and my dad, who kind of taught me everything that I know. We believed in integrity and doing it right. And I think that for years, the BBB shares that mission of how can they help consumers to connect with companies that share that vision. And so I've always appreciated the work that the BBB does when it comes to those types of missions. And so we're grateful to be here to have a conversation about what can we all do to continue to elevate our industry and work together. So where do we start?
You got to ask the question.
All right, you want me to ask a question?
Let me know what the answer is.
All right. So we already know who you are, the famous Barry Moore, and we've worked together for many, many years.
We did. We served on the board together years ago. I did not serve with your dad.
That's
But
right.
I know a lot about him, and over the decades, he was a great service, and he'll be missed, obviously. And so thank you for your families. You've invested money with our brand. We're a nonprofit. So what I'm going to let everybody know in the home improvement world is we are a nonprofit and we are not a government agency. I had somebody here today saying, you will sue for me, right? And I said, no, we don't sue anybody. It's not our job. Our job is to collect data. The one thing business owners, and I would put it this way, I think the auto business started the CSI, Lexus in 1989, Infinity, and it ran rampant then. After that, it's in every industry. And when we used to get complaints, Mark, and to our team, I've explained to them, I used to get angry. Like, you're not a customer. How dare you? That's not the way it happened. I know better. And I would answer those things. But then the internet started happening.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anymore just a letter that I would send out angry. I had to learn and look in the mirror. And it's for everybody. It's not just me. We have to look in the mirror and say, we get paid. We open for our customer every day. Without a customer, we don't have a job. So it is so basic. And you think that's a generalized statement. Dave Trebor, who's the original Haley, when he heard me say that in a meeting, he goes, why can't my other stores think the same way? Well, your stores, and he would say, more successful, more profitable, a smaller brand, and you're blowing up the other stores because it was a culture. And BBB, an accreditation is a culture. The letter grade, we can argue all day long if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't hone in on that. If you're watching this video, if you're not using the words accredited business and leading with that brand, the employee goes out, hi, I'm Barry Moore. I work with Mr. Fix-It. Mark Binshtok is the owner, and his dad, they always opened with trust, started with trust, and they become accredited years ago, served on the board years ago. And what they do is give a place for employees to come to work like-minded that start with trust. And right there, I'm going to give you a contract, sir, ma'am. I'm going to give you everything in writing. We have policies, and I'm going to go through everything. I'm not going to hide anything because we start with trust. So I said the BBB accreditation part for 3 seconds. So that's what I call leading with our brand. But after that, it's your brand.
Yeah.
And if you take Mr. Fix-It by itself, although it's a great name, it's only so big. You add the BBB accreditation to it, you have kryptonite, I call it. And the reason being, we're a nonprofit for 113 years, and we house a lot of data. AI, the word trust is searched out quite a bit in your fields and our fields. Where can people go to trust businesses? Storm chasers, it's a whole nother topic we'll talk about. But anyway, that's what the BBB is, not a government agency. When you hire us, you become accredited, you get vetted, and then we're your employees. You added us and the folks sitting over there. You now have an extra 10. Hi, Debbie. She's waving again. Yeah, so
That's
I think that's right.
the family's over.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. But you just picked up 10 employees as an accredited business. If you don't take our call, if you don't call us back, if you don't attend events, you made the decision, the investment's zero. It's a dead expense. Bring that expense to life, we'll make it worth 2 to 3 times what you're investing with us. That's about it for Barry. Yeah. They're happy about it. They like to clap. We have a little sense of humor here too. We're not a real bunch of stiffs, but we're not laughing.
No.
Good.
All right, so what questions do we have so far?
We have Josh now.
All right, to Josh?
Yes, sir. Hello. If I can start the timer, let me know. All right.
Did you start that for me?
No.
No.
Oh, you should have. Yeah,
You were smart not to
I
start.
go way over, yeah. But anyway, Josh is gonna tell us about the outreach team, and what he tries to convey with all his staff. Josh started with us 2.5 years ago, was a young man, and this was his real first full-time. He's a baker by trade, and works with dad, but here he is, so he's gonna tell us about the outreach team.
So I'm in charge. I'm the leader of the outreach team. So me plus 3 other people are over there, trying to take care of you and want to make sure for 2 major things. We want to build that relationship with your business, and we also want to help your business grow. I always try to reinstill just the value of what it means to be accredited, not just from a business owner standpoint, but also from a consumer standpoint. You know, as a consumer, as a business owner, you're also a consumer, and you're trying to protect your dollars every way that you can. So just making sure that, you know, knowing where to go, and as an accredited business, educating people and educating consumers that come to you, whether if you can't do the job or if they're talking to you about something that's just not in your field, just making small talk, being like, hey, go to bbb.org, because, you know, search accredited businesses. Those are the people who are going to take care of you at the end of the day. You know, we would just want to make sure that you understand that we're your partner. You know, we're always going to be here for you. We're here waiting for you to pick up the phone, call us to see what we can do to help you with. Things to just kind of know. I know we've got some events when it comes to encouraging you guys to come to us or to just interact with us a little bit more. We've got a lot of events. I know just utilizing your profile page in general as a business, you know, you have photos that you can put on there. You've got videos you can put on there, boosting up your reviews. We have an app that can help you boost reviews. And that's a great way to help you and also from a consumer standpoint, seeing those reviews and seeing what you get, it'll help you way bigger in the long run. Some things that I always see from businesses when they try to call us and they're like, they want to know our 2 cents. I want to know, what are your fears? I want to know what's going on with your business. I also want to know the accomplishments that you guys are receiving as well. Any goals that you guys have got for the end of the day. Talk to me about that. Let's build that rapport so that we'd be able to kind of go back and forth and have that conversation about how we can help you grow. Because we've got a bunch of tools that can help you do it. We just need to be able to communicate to you guys about that.
Yeah, I appreciate, you know, what you just shared. It's true. Our company certainly has taken advantage of some of the resources that the BBB has offered over the years. We mentioned about the reviews, so you're talking about the review solution.
Yes.
That's something that we onboarded years ago, and we appreciate you know, that support. Also, it wasn't that long ago when Barry started that one of the things he recommended to the ABs was when it came to recruiting to use a company by the name of Kildare. And we hopped on that right away. And for Adrian, that's a huge part of our day-to-day that's well ingrained into and that's been a great resource. So we've certainly taken advantage and appreciate you know, the BBB can help companies like us when it comes to certain things. I think that there is more that businesses out there need to learn about how the BBB can support them and create that better awareness in the community that there's value, and that will, we hope, trickle down to the consumer. I could probably ask, what is it about when we talk about complaints for a second? And Jen and Crystal have been here since I'll just say for a long time. How about that? I'm going to protect you. But it's almost like when we talk about complaints, when a consumer finally gets to that point, I almost wonder, what could we have done more proactively, good businesses and the BBB, to try to be more about prevention, to prevent that complaint as opposed to waiting that long? And is there any common denominator about when a customer got there? Should the customer have was the customer had an opportunity to maybe get a little bit more educated to prevent there's so many consumers, as we know, that have had bad experiences, not just in our industry, home improvement, but across the board, right? And some customers might say, I wish I would have done this or that prior, I wouldn't be where I am today, right? So I think that is an obligation of both the business community and the continuation with the BBB when it comes to outreach of how we better help the consumer to be a little bit more protecting themselves so that they don't end up. I mean, there's going to be from time to time a complaint no matter what. That's just how our world is, right? But I think that there's still room for how we maybe do a little bit more prevention.
You're right.
Yeah.
I want to ask one question. Do you have anybody to admit, particularly
No, I keep
watching? And is it being recorded?
It is being
Yes.
recorded.
Very good.
Yes. Yes, that's why I'm on my best behavior.
You
because
are,
we are
I don't want to have
recorded,
to address rehearsal and do this again, because you just did amazing.
so- Okay,
So, yeah, so good.
All right.
You're good. You asked the questions. Go ahead.
All right, who's next?
Jen.
Jen. I probably hopped onto this, but number 5. I love this. Y'all are helping me and supporting me even with to stay on topic. So explain how a company is vetted before they're accredited. So right, and what goes into verifying that.
So we have a 38-point checklist that we use to verify all accredited businesses before they become accredited. We have to make sure that they meet all of our standards, which include building trust, advertising honestly, telling the truth, being transparent, honoring promises, being responsive, safeguarding privacy, and embody integrity. So when we receive an application, we make sure that the website is up to our standards. We make sure that, especially in y'all's industry, that the licensing is correct and up to date. A business has to have been at least 6 months in business before they can become BBB accredited. Make sure that they don't have any unanswered or unresolved complaints. So there's a laundry list that goes into checking that. Once we verify everything through BBB, we then send it to our board of directors, because we have a lot of people who are very experienced in the fields of different industries. And so they can kind of have a final look at those lists of pending accredited businesses before they're approved and are able to use our logo and our seal. So there's a universal minimum accreditation process that's put in place by our IABBB that we follow, just to make sure that all those boxes are checked. And to your comment about complaints too, Barry's done a very good job in advertising for consumers to shop bbb.org before you do business. That way you can see any reviews that are out there. You can see any complaints that the business has received, and you can make sure that they're an accredited business that has been verified through all these checkpoints before doing business with a company.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think that, you for so many years that you've been talking directly with that customer that, that's making a complaint. Sometimes it's a sad situation where, that person didn't realize that the person that they're about to hire to come in their home is supposed to have a license with D4, as you just mentioned, and is supposed to have insurance and is supposed to, have a good reputation. And it's incumbent on all of the community before they make a purchase to make sure they're hiring somebody that's qualified to do it, right?
Well, and it's surprising too, how many businesses that apply for accreditation that don't realize that they need a D4 license. So it's our chance to educate those businesses as well. To get them in contact and so that they're not, down the road finding themselves in some sort of a legal bind because they are an unlicensed contractor too.
Yeah, and that's one of the good things for that the community has a resource. They can go to the BBB and they can see what the requirements are for a particular company if they need to be licensed. And there's a resource, y'all give the link to where a consumer can go and check and see if that person has a license and that sort of thing, right?
Absolutely. And then we also, for all of our reviews, we give the businesses the opportunity to take a look at those reviews. So we kind of stand apart from your Googles and your Yelps and all that stuff where anybody can just blast a review on there and it's posted immediately. We wait 10 days before posting those reviews. We give the business a chance to look at those reviews, verify that it is their customer. If it's not a customer, they can let us know and we can reach out to that customer to get verification of that marketplace interaction. And then again, you all have a chance to respond to those reviews prior to them being published so that when consumers are looking at those reviews, they can kind of see both sides of the story. So that, makes us stand out apart from a lot of the review sites that are out there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody have any questions for Jen about what?
That is so important. That's one thing we found that really does separate the BBB from the other review platforms is that instead of just a complaint, or maybe even a compliment, it's an actual review. And
Yeah.
so the customer gets a chance to explain what their experience was, but then the business has an opportunity to also give their side, to find that common ground, that resolution, because at the end of the day, I think everybody's goal is to try to find an accurate depiction of what happened so future consumers know truly what took place.
Yeah.
And the other review platforms do not truly offer that. So from a company standpoint, we really appreciate the way you guys do handle those.
One of the great things about reviews is it's also, I think that it's kind of like a ancillary or secondary, maybe a little bit of icing on the cake. But we encourage our team to make sure the customer knows, hey, share your experience. It's good for the community to see a business that has a track record. But then when we get, thank goodness, so many positive reviews, we make sure that our staff that were either part of that particular job, we make sure the staff is aware that, hey, you just got kind of what you did, your work in the field, caused this customer to leave some positive feedback and say, hey, they're thrilled about the job. And that gets back to, company engagement. Which is something really important to us about how do we keep our employees, all of our staff, everyone on our team, how do we keep them as involved and happy as possible with what they do. And there's so many jobs that unfortunately it becomes almost like a day-to-day and you forget sometimes that we're making a positive difference in people's lives. So the reviews, the extra benefit is our staff gets to come in and say, wow, look at that. I got recognized or to that effect,
Feels
right?
good.
It does, it is. And that's important to each of us as a human being. We all appreciate when something worked out, it makes us feel good, right? I think that we sometimes lose sight of that importance. That's, we all need that, right?
And the power of the network, I think, bouncing back to the app that you mentioned, we noticed a 50% increase in the reviews once we started utilizing that app. In addition, when Adrian's doing recruiting using the Caldera, a lot of the applicants, they want to join our business because of the reviews, because of what they're reading in the reviews. And the reviews really tell you not what the person that's interviewing you wants to sell you on the company, but what that company truly is at its core. And so all that you've offered us has really helped across the board. So
It's important for everybody watching this over the next couple of weeks, because we're going to send it out. When you're recruiting, I want to talk about at the end, but if you're going to attract, satisfy, retain, you better believe that future employees, these younger folks, whatever that age is, they want to know your reputation. Mom and dad have already been hurt by bad employers, so they want to know. There's a lot of fakes out there, fakes, frauds, and phonies that Bob Grant used to say on the radio back in the 70s and 80s. And to Jen's point, everything we do, and Mark, you and the directors, you hired me 2.5 years ago. The one difference, I come out of the for-profit world. So I understand net to sales, I understand, earnings, and yes, I have understanding. I've written playbook after playbook, process after process. So if we took some of the stuff that Jen gathers, right, from consumers, and you get me to come in, I don't get paid extra. It's an added value. Why I'm in this job, I could come in and look at a playbook in 30 minutes and say, if you would align a little bit with what I'm seeing here, reading from your customers, looking at your competition, this is how you can even shine even more. Because you're looking for the best employee that then finds the best customer.
Yeah, that's a great resource for businesses in our community, for sure. All right, one of the things as the BBB has evolved is there's a new program called Ignite, and so I'm excited to hear all about that.
Mark, it's nice to meet you. I haven't met you yet. I'm Evie George, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. I'll give you a little background about the program before I get into my question. But Ignite, sparked by BBB, started a little over 10 years ago now in Phoenix, Arizona, by Mark Feeling.
Matt
Feeling.
Yeah.
Sorry,
We started in
used
Richmond,
the-
actually.
Yes.
Matt was here for a while.
I learned
Yes,
that, and I was like,
yes.
no wonder he's excellent. So, so he started the program there as a way to kind of communicate with the community on a different level. At the BBB, we can only do so much, and there are only so many conversations we can have. And the key word here is conversations. Barry asked me, what question would you like to be asked? And how would you answer it? So the question is, what types of businesses can benefit from participating in the Ignite program? What services do we offer them? And why is direct conversation needed today moving forward in our community? So 3-part question.
Yep.
The first part, everybody can benefit from it. All businesses, all organizations, all people. What we forget is that we're not just businesses, we're not just organizations and employees and owners, we are people. We have flaws and we have opportunities to grow every single day. And so Ignite offers that opportunity. Part of that is through our services, one of them being the podcast. BBB Sharing is a great opportunity for our accredited businesses to be on the podcast and talk to the community, not only about what they do, where they come from, who they are, and how important accreditation is to them, but also scams, sort of PSA, what to be aware of. Recently, we had a problem with storm chasers in the area. That was a great opportunity to have a lot of home improvement people come in and talk about that. And the community really appreciates it. And the ABs appreciate it because it gives them an opportunity to have their voice heard. We also have events, which I like to call Spark Conversations. The Spark Conversations are events that we focus on social issues and also business issues. Coming up on September 18th, we have a very big event. It's going to be 4 major conversations all day long, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be covering marketing, media, and consulting, employment and leadership, but also mental health. We have the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health coming and talking about the resource 988. And then we also have give.org coming, which is the nonprofit version of BBB. And they'll be talking about nonprofits, why it's important to know where your money's going when you donate, when you volunteer, and why it's important for nonprofits to be accredited. So those are big conversations that we have that we love having because it gets people to not only network and come together, but also learn something new. Call them conversations because there's not just talking heads. Yes, we do have professionals. They do offer very valuable information to you when you come, but it gives you the opportunity to ask your questions to them that you want answered. Sometimes we spend an hour of listening to great conversation. We leave and we maybe learn something, but we kind of forget about it because it doesn't really apply to us that much. So that's one of a couple of the resources that we have. Another one is that we also offer the space to rent out. There's a whole other side to the BBB, which is now the Ignite program, and you have a boardroom, you have a big collaborative suite, which one of our board of directors, Richmond Windows, uses it once a week throughout the month, and they love it. It's an opportunity to do team building. The podcast is available to rent out if you so decide that you want to do your own podcast for your business. $40 an hour. It's a great opportunity. We show you how to use the podcast studio and how to have your own platform there. And then why is direct conversation so important? We've got a lot of Band-Aids. I like to call them Band-Aids here. They cover everything up and they don't really find solutions to a problem. So direct conversation is a way of putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation by having a conversation with somebody and really trying to build your way towards a solution. I'm not saying you're going to walk away from one conversation and you're going to have the answers to all your problems. That's not realistic. What is realistic is building your way towards that solution and kind of facing those fears and facing that reality. One of the things that we like to call it here is consumer protocol or customer protocol. I think COVID took a big hit on people's mental state and ability to communicate with each other. And so this is a great opportunity for people to get back into the real world and really have conversations with each other.
And, you know, that conversation came up when I was on the board, because I saw it in the auto industry. Because you all in the home industry, you understand what I'm talking about. The way people used to go out and buy a car used to be with a handshake. I'll be back to pick it up. And then the protocol started changing. And so our organization, umbrella under IABBB, International Association of BBB, maybe looks at us and looks at our brand and says, we're here to protect the little guy. They have rights and they're always getting wrong. And I used to say as a business owner at the board, wait a minute, nobody's opening up every day to hurt people. I haven't met those people. If you want to call them storm chasers, let's label them, and they aren't bad characters. Uninsured, no license, fly by night, they don't even have a bank account. Other than that, how much is that? 0.5% of the marketplace? The rest of the businesses are good people investing $1,000, $10,000, $100, $1 million. They're investing their money, hiring people, and yet the consumer sometimes mixes things up intentionally. Was this car ever in an accident? Oh, Barry, no way. Well, before Carfax, we're professionals. We can look at a car and see the bad body work that we might have done in our body shop.
Yeah.
So we have records, and people just can't tell the truth. And it's gotten really bad after COVID. And so to be in business, we have to be on both sides. We don't take sides. We just want communication and help people do it. And so what Evie's doing with the support of the whole team, although everybody has separate jobs, everyone on our team has sat through probably 10, 12 conversations. We've talked, we made up topics, and we round the table, ask questions, uncomfortable conversations. And I think we're onto something. And we just need the support of Council of CEOs, all the ABs out there, accredited businesses, not ABs. If they support what we're doing, we can change this community. And we handle like 42 counties. So we're not looking for the whole country here. We're working for 42 counties. My board of directors, that's what you guys do. You have a fiduciary responsibility to oversee financially, but you also are a raving fan for our brand because we're one and the same.
Right.
We're all your employees. We don't know each other's names, but we should. I'd love to get to know them all. But we want to grow and be in the community more. And that's what Ignite's going to let us do. Conversations get very difficult. Fentanyl, mental health. I am the one, believe it or not I'm not an I guy too often. You don't hear me say that, but in the early 2000s at the dealership, started doing all the nonprofit stuff. And a couple businesses followed suit. I talked to Ted Linhart a couple months ago, and he started with the pop-up ads and started getting involved with the dogs and the cats and everything. You remember all that. And so now there's businesses, they raise food and they're building into the price. If you check, they're not all accredited. You check their prices, they're exorbitant. So you're bringing in food, they're donating to something, or a cat or a dog kennel, and it's all wonderful things, but they're building that into the pricing. So I don't know that it all works out, because going back to Evie's point, that's a Band-Aid. Why are we still having to raise food? Why can't our community, everybody have access to food at the food stores and live normally like we all do? What is the issue with that? I don't know, but we're trying to find out, and that's what Evie's charged to do, root causes. So if you go back to number 6, we got to talk to Frank Crystal down there.
Very good information. And we certainly are excited about how the BBB is is kind of cutting into the more old school ways that we have been and going with podcast. I love that idea. There's certain businesses that have the knack for and have somebody that would enjoy doing a monthly podcast and then sharing that podcast out with their customers. And it's not just about that business, trying to get more business or more customers. It's about that business giving back to the community by sharing good information, common sense stuff about how to go about, doing, hiring a contractor, for if I use our industry, for example, and giving that information out to their customers, and then those customers can forward that link along to other people they know. And before you know it, we've got a better awareness to help prevent somebody from accidentally hiring, like we say, an unscrupulous contractor. A lot of that, sometimes you just get taken advantage of. We know that there's those examples. And over the years, being on the board, I've certainly been exposed to many horror stories where some elderly folks and retired folks get taken advantage of, and people are stealing their life savings, kind of thing. And there's only but so much that at the BBB that we can do to help. But it's more about that prevention and helping to take care of the community, for sure. Yeah. What, I know we also want to talk with Crystal about, the process to how y'all are monitoring AB. So once somebody becomes, we used to call it a member, right? I go back like y'all many years to where we used to call it, you're a member. Now we're an accredited business. And that was intentionally done to change that terminology a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yep. And so what does the BBB do to monitor and help to keep the business community, keep the members, help them to stay on the right track?
Yeah, absolutely. So similar to what Jen was going through with the UMAT process for initial accreditation, we're going to review that annually. Tara here on our staff reviews all the licensing for anyone that requires one. If it's expired or revoked or suspended, then we'll lead into, a suspension process with the AB. But we're gonna look back at, are we answering complaints? Are we resolving them? Is the website advertising up to par? Are we claiming anything that's wild? So we're gonna do the same thing every year that the business went through to initially become accredited.
Okay, so and I want to continue the conversation. This is, I'll ask Matt for a second, and Matt is our VP of sales and marketing, and he has been in the industry for almost his entire life, but it seems like it. And so you probably have examples of a company that maybe had a good reputation at some point, and then staffing might change or ownership might change, and all of a sudden that company is not what they used to be.
Yeah, definitely seen it over the years where ownership changes or leadership changes, and the standards go with it, right? And sticking to the standards go with it. I think one of the things that I learned when I first got into this business, or in sales in general, which is where I started in this business, is that kind of at the core of the decision for a consumer is that they want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Right. The products are great. We were talking about the reviews earlier. You read most of our reviews online, they hardly mention the products. They usually mention the installer, the sales rep, or the person on the phone, those kinds of things, right? So it's really important to make sure that those standards are maintained by your leadership teams and your ownership, and the people that are working with you and for you will do so alongside you as well too. So I think if you're in a review process like that, and as a company, if you're seeing those things slip, right, you got to take a look at how you're keeping up with it, monitoring it, that kind of thing. But it's a really big deal. It helps, again, back to recruiting and, bringing in new customers for sure, but keeping your business strong and growing, that's a huge key for it. So absolutely.
Yeah, we the old saying of it takes a village. When it comes to keeping customers happy and getting good reviews, it our sales team, for example, will go and share with a customer, you're gonna love the end result, you're gonna love us. But that's where our representative kind of, he can only say that, and then it's up to our production department. So Jason, our VP of production, he has a team that then has to live up to what was promised, right? Matt's team made the promise. Now Jason has to make sure that they do that. And how do you share with the installers about the goals to keep customer happy?
It really goes back to the core, to your culture, who you are as a business. And when we hire, it's hiring the right people, starting with the good recruiting process, being a company that we want to attract the right people. If we didn't have good reviews or a good reputation, we would not attract the right type of people. Also making sure that people know that, getting out there on the BBB, on the other platforms and leaving those reviews. And then once you have them in-house, actually every day reminding them. And so some companies may think that a complaint is a bad thing, but it's an opportunity. Every complaint is an opportunity to improve. And so even if you feel like you've done everything 100% correct, if that customer has 1% that you could have improved on, that's a win, because that makes sure that our future customers get a better experience. And I think just every single day driving that forward, at our production meetings, sales meetings, service meetings, and just really reminding everybody why we do what we do. And at the end of the day, it's to make the customer happy.
Mark said it earlier, we're not perfect. We're gonna get something wrong every now and again, right? It gives us an opportunity to dissect it and figure out how we can do better next time. But, we're in a really great position because, being the leader of the sales and marketing side of our business, you usually you have to deliver what you promise, but we get to promise what we deliver, right? So it's a nice advantage when, the culture is there and in place, and everybody on our leadership team is that's our number one mission, right? And if you make that top priority for yourself as a leadership team, I think the review process here at the BBB will go in any other direction for you.
Yeah, and I think that so Marcy is our VP of Finance and HR, and Adrian, our director, and one of Adrian's many responsibilities is on the talent acquisition or recruiting side. And I know that when you meet with a potential person that's maybe saying, "Hey, I might want to work for your company," you're doing similar things to what Jen is doing. Is you're looking, is this the right person? Do they meet the culture, right?
Absolutely. And also, our leadership team has to live up to those expectations that I set for those candidates as well. So, it is very much full circle, because we have the right people, then we're going to get those great reviews, because we're all going to play our part. So, but it does start with also having a great leadership team that will roll up their sleeves and help, and, lives up to that great culture and the standards that, we've had 54 years to cultivate and that we've been founded on. And, it gives me a lot of pride when I can talk to a candidate and say, you know what? We're different. We're not like everybody else. You're not just a number. You're a person, and our leadership team will get in and they will roll their sleeves up, and you might find them on the job site with you. So that means a lot to people. People want that, and they don't get that everywhere. So it definitely differentiates us. So I appreciate that everyone can live up to that.
Yeah, that's great stuff, and that's where I think the magic comes. And so just like the BBB is choosy about, no, I'm sorry, you don't have the license, you can't join, or no, you don't, you haven't been in business, or no, you don't have, this, that, or the other to meet our minimum standards, but work on this and come back to us in a year, work on this and come back. I think that and I don't want to ask Adrian for like a percentage, but there's a good number of people that send in a request about, hey, I want to interview, and it kind of, once you do an initial kind of conversation, or maybe confer with Marcy, that person doesn't advance, because it is about being proactive. And just like the BBB is trying to be proactive about making sure that the right kind of businesses are affiliated, it's incumbent that the business does the same thing with their team. Otherwise, it all just kind of crumbles, right?
Which is why we vet our candidates as well. So we have background screenings and checks to make sure we're putting the right people in people's homes so that we can maintain those standards and get those great reviews. So it is all a big process, but we do the same thing with our candidates to vet them.
And when it comes to reviews, Brett is the director in charge of our marketing efforts and all of our marketing department, and he has to decide about where to place ads, and also though, when you place an ad wherever it is, we're nowadays especially, one of the first things a lot of people do is they'll see an ad you place, and then they might go and read a review, right? So that helps when it comes to placing an ad, that helps the performance of an ad, depending on if our company is looked at in the community. You've worked for a number of home improvement companies over the years. I think it's got to help common sense. It's got to help when the company has the best reviews and they're actively engaged in that, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things that we do is, between all our advertisements, we have tracking numbers, to make sure that we can see where things are coming from, and so we can source them properly. And one of the things that we do notice, and again, a lot of the ads that we do create, we put the, BBB accreditation on there. We want people to know that. We want people to see the kind of trust that they can have with us in the community. But what we have noticed is we do have a, specific tracking number on Google. And since we have done that, it's really interesting to see the amount of phone calls that come in from that, right? I mean, you can have TV ads out there, newspaper ads, direct mail pieces, social media, whatever. But what you see is people will look at that, and the majority of them will tend to go to Google first, right? They want to see the reviews. They want to see how well, people are responding, and then we'll see a lot of traction come in, right, from that number. So we know that it's being driven there. So we do know how important having those reviews are.
Yeah, and I want to circle back. I meant to bring it up a moment ago. When we talk about a company that maybe at one point had a good reputation, and then there just something changed, right? And that happens as a normal course of business where leadership changes, staff changes. And we certainly have seen that on the board, not often, but from time to time. Jen, you'll come in, or Crystal, you'll come in and you'll say, we want to take some action, adverse action. Maybe this person no longer should be able to be an accredited business. And on the board, we're like, holy crap, they've been a part of the BBB for years and years, and they used to have a good reputation. What happened, right? So I think from the consumer standpoint, the consumer needs to be aware that just because a business has been around a long time, you've got to also look to see, is the current reviews that business is getting, not what they did 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, but how are they perceived today? Because consumers need to be aware that those things could change, right?
Absolutely. That's one good thing about our reviews too, is we do keep them current. So after 3 years, reviews do drop off. So positive or negative, we only house those reviews for 3 years. Same with complaints.
Right. And that's a trade-off. There's good and bad, but there's more good in that rule, because I think the good is, I'm a big believer in second chances. And I think that anybody that went through a rough patch and maybe didn't have the right person in their business, they have the ability of transforming themselves. And hey, this doesn't follow me around for the rest of my life. It occurred in the past, but I've turned things around. And that's a great thing. The pressure is also on my team to keep getting the reviews and not rest on our laurels. If we got a lot a couple of years ago, we now got to replace them, right?
Yep. Yeah. When talk about reviews, if I'm sure you guys get plenty of calls from companies once they get a bad review or complaint, and they're being reactive. What can companies do proactively to communicate with you guys to say, hey, I would like to see these changes, or hey, have you thought about this? What is the best way for companies such as us to reach out to you and share our feedback of how we can improve? I know these conversations are great, but are there other channels, and how would you like, maybe someone watching this call to reach out if they did want to offer some ideas or suggestions to you all?
I just got a call from an AB the other day, about he was unhappy that reviews were dropping off, because in the past he had 48, 50 positive reviews. He was utilizing Review Solution. He had stopped pushing positive reviews, or really reviews in general, to BBB. So now I believe he had about 3. So I was able to connect him with Barry, who can then kind of gather that feedback. And through his conversations with IABBB and different committees, try to share, because all of these policies are gonna be made with IABBB. But to have the opportunity to be able to share, this is what we're hearing locally and how it's impacting businesses, I think it's a good thing. So Barry was able to speak.
We also have our outreach team, that Josh
Yep.
heads up, so everybody should have their own concierge. Depending on where you fall in the alphabet is who you'll have with you. Always just reach out to us and talk to them and they can relay that message or get you in contact with the right people or Barry.
Are any of the smart conversations, are there any of those recorded? That we can go back and watch later, and where do we find those?
Every single one of them is recorded and posted on our YouTube channel, BBB Central VA. We use the owl to record all of those so that everybody gets caught on camera when they're expressing how they feel or asking a question. We also post them on the podcast, which is BBB Sharing on Spotify. So when we do the podcast and the YouTube channel, we keep it all public. We encourage everybody to share it out, watch it over and over, and kind of just let the community know what we're talking about.
Really cool, so you can plug it in, listen to it on the car, and
Exactly.
not even have to really make an extra appointment.
Yep.
That's awesome.
It's great training too, for every, thousands of companies we represent, work with. We're providing training for your whole entire staff. Dominion Energy, Capital One, 100,000 employees or whatever, they could utilize our training if they knew about it. And the problem is gatekeepers keep us from communicating very well. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, and we're all consumers in the community. We're all buyers, even though we're in the business, but on our personal side, on the personal lives, we're all consumers, and that kind of, leads me to the next question. What is the future if consumers continue to visit the BBB and before they decide to make a purchase with whatever type of business?
So the future, right, we talk about it every single day here, and nationwide and internationally. Some people believe we're dead. I remember Tom Winfrey told us at a board meeting 2 years ago, he goes, this economy is going to drop. Consumers are going to be coming to us more and more because their dollars are going to be shorter. And sure enough, as a banker, he was right. And companies are hurting somewhere in the profitability, personnel expenses have gone through the roof. Insurance through the roof. So you have got to find good business partners, which we are. And Tom, that's given credit.
Yeah.
He said that to all of us. I made a quick list of it's rapid fire, and Evie always told me that I'm on time or off time. Got 12 minutes to go. I'm going to make a rapid fire because we're talking to home improvement, but we're talking to ABs, non-ABs. In this marketplace, everybody should be accredited. And you as an accredited business, well, I don't want that. Well, sure you do, because we're protecting our consumer base. We're considering, economic development can keep pounding their chest. Look who we brought here. Look who we had. If we don't get crime under control in Enrico, that sports center is not going to get tourists in about 12 to 18 months.
Right.
The gig is up, right? And so economic development is wonderful. Tax dollars at work. But we better make sure our community is strong. And that's with accredited businesses. Our expense is not a debt expense. So anybody that's watching this, anybody's accredited, whatever you pay us, it's a drop in the bucket. So y'all know, all accredited businesses, the money you pay us is for this staff to help the consumer. All these other things I'm doing is out of my time, my energy. I being all of these folks, they're going over and above, but we are spending that money to have an office, to have a trademark with IBBB, and to protect consumers that pay us zero. Bad business model, but we're the only ones that do it. For 100 and some years, we take calls from consumers that might need some help. We don't take the calls anymore. It's all online. We have taken out communication. You know why? Because the world's gotten crazy. Barry, you people said this. Oh, no. It's all in writing now. We have to do it. We cannot be vulnerable. Olga sitting way over there. She heads up our Spanish initiative, but she came up with a comment last week when people said, we can't afford to pay your fee. And Olga said, in Spanish and English, you can't afford not to come. Come here, learn from us. Don't be accredited. Let us help you, help yourself and succeed to get to the next year. Because a lot of companies, small businesses come in and out. You and I know that.
Yeah.
53 years you've been, I mean, or whatever that is, number is 55.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, we're getting ready. We're closer. We're 54, but we're getting ready to be 55.
So we have a party to go to, guys.
That's right.
Get dressed up.
Right.
Gatekeepers, I will tell you, fire your CEO. Stop advertising, save tens of thousands of dollars if you don't want to pick up the phone and don't want to know what your company's going through. We try, all of us, try to call, I called an investment guy, it's accredited, and a roofer, accredited. I'm not allowed to give out a recommendation. I give the power of 3. I call you and say, Mark, I got somebody calling you, just so you know. Both people never to this day have called me back, 2.5 years. They're spending, I mean, 20, 30,000 a month on radio and TV locally, and they will not take my call. I'm not looking to hurt them. And I said those customers went elsewhere. Almost $500,000 to invest, 5 change, pretty good investment.
Yeah.
The guy couldn't be bothered calling me back. The staff calls you, take the call and know that you're getting the call and tell your gatekeepers, lighten up, maybe, because we're all customers too. Do you guys paint garage floors?
Oh, yeah,
Which division here? Who handles that?
All of us.
All of you?
Yeah.
Well, you got a garage floor coming up, right? New construction is gonna be the easiest floor you ever did. I need to know the colors,
it looks
right?
amazing.
Oh, it does.
amazing.
I've done other
I've got
houses.
samples in my truck.
I love them. Good. We're not leaving. So that and, Paige, I gotta get 2 screen doors in the house. They don't give you screen doors when you build a house.
Not anymore.
Crazy world.
That's right.
Gatekeeper, so take the call. You never know who you're talking to. Communication, we get complaints. Poor ladies get complaints. Well, he stopped sending out emails. We went from not communicating at all to over communicating. What's so hard about hitting delete? And then all of a sudden you might learn one thing on one email and say, I didn't know that. Wow. You have an advertising budget. Everybody does. The BBB accreditation should not be part of your advertising budget. We're partners. It should be a training. It should be a personnel type of expense, in my opinion. Do you check your vendors? Do you guys, before you go out, deal with 200 or 300 vendors, do you want to do business with like-minded people? Joe Casey, I applaud him, and Garrett Hart over at Chesterfield County. Joe Casey, 2.5 years ago, met with me, my first meeting, and he gets the brand. So they have a new system. If you want to do business in Chesterfield County, it's online. They spent a fortune on it to make sure they're going to do business the right way. And one of the boxes you can check off, are you accredited by the BBB? They want to know that because they know that we're doing the research for them at no charge. Smart civil servant, right? Very smart. AI is coming. We have a lot of information. Again, trust is being sought after. CGI, anybody watching, call Josh, call your team, member, your concierge here. We'll give you 1 month, no charge in your zip code, 1 banner ad, and you guys have done that advertising with CGI. Give 1 month in your home zip code, no charge, just to test out CGI. The first person in this marketplace that signs up for Seesaw is going to win. Everybody will be on Seesaw someday, what it does, but get a test drive from Chris Sokol at CGI, call one of us and get his cell number. It is an incredible product. Websites, we all work on them so much. Websites haven't changed in 20-some years, other than content, couple videos. Seesaw lays over it. It's their patented product. It's incredible. Nationwide is doing very well. And it's keeping people on your website, giving them a better shopping experience. So it's called Seesaw at CGI. We earn a couple dollars on it, disclosure, but we only earn a couple dollars on a couple products we offer. CGI is one. It's not why I'm telling you about it. Time is money, money's time. I showed you my bobblehead, my mini me in my office.
Yeah.
My wife knows me, but that's a great thing. I will come in, teach your team, your executive team, all your teams, utilize me. I am a free investment to you. You just call me and bring me in for 20 minutes. And when I walk out, you can say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't care. At least they might have listened and I kept you guys not, buy coffee or whatever and, have a little fun, laugh at my expense, that's all. And then, support the events here. Evie's always looking for sponsors for every event. Range from $900,000. We'll let you bring your swag. Even if you're not a sponsor, share your company with other companies because you all have vendors. And we're an intangible. We are like life insurance, and I've sold a lot of life insurance in my life. You have to bring it to life. You got to die to utilize life insurance. Other than that, it's an intangible, right? So what are we selling here? We're not selling anything. We have a brand that now I hand to you. You get accredited. You hand it off. You bring it to life. And that means using the logo, using the same speeches we're given here, utilizing our space. It's up to you. The ball's in your court. So I did good. There's only 10:55. So you got 5 minutes if you like.
I could fill 5
You
minutes.
can.
I have, one of the questions you had asked me, was what would our marketplace look like if all home services, home improvement, if everybody was accredited? And you mentioned it a few minutes ago, in today's economy, things are expensive. Homeowners we're pinching pennies and trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And one of the things we see in our industry is sometimes customers will say, I'm gonna roll the dice, and I hear my next door neighbor says he's got a guy that can come in and do a remodeling project. And while my company, my dad started Mr. Fix-It in 1970, and so it was a one-person operation. So I'm a big fan of, everybody has to start small, but then you've got to also, even if you're only a one-man show, you still have to conduct yourself and do it right, have the right licensing, the right insurance, and take care of that customer. So I'm definitely not against the entrepreneur by any means. With that said, I think that a lot of consumers haven't thought through about what happens if I hire that guy and then it doesn't have a good outcome. God forbid if we send out an installation crew, and let's say it's a 2-day job that we're doing, and on the first day somebody got sick. If you're only a one-man show, if you get sick, the job doesn't get done. Where companies that are accredited and take the time to have best business practices and maybe think about how do I prevent that? How do I be a good business? Well, you have to have backup. You don't want to leave your customer hanging. So with us, God forbid, one of our installers gets sick. Well, Jason's got a backup. So that customer's experience we're just gonna pick up where the other one left off, and we're gonna still finish that project on time. And that's gotta be important to the consumer. So all ABs need to try to remind customers that, there's more risk at hiring somebody that isn't accredited, because the vast majority of our accredited businesses are a little bit more established, right? They're not just somebody that has a pickup truck and is working part-time and doesn't have the licenses or insurance. And God forbid there's a bad outcome where somebody gets hurt or something gets damaged in the home. That's where the consumer really gets into trouble. And although the consumer is like, how can I save money? But is it worth the risk in the long run? That's it's, what you said about Olga, I think about it. It's almost like you can't afford not to be a member. It's like, do you really want to take the risk of saving a little bit of money? Because if something goes bad, now you have to hire somebody else and it's going to cost you more. So it's better to be a little bit more proactive with a guaranteed outcome. How do you guarantee an outcome? You use the BBB for a resource, and then you hire a company that, like we said, for the last period of time, with good reviews, with a good track record, and then there is more chances of things going right than not. On that, anybody else? I think I have like 2 minutes left.
I would just echo what you said. It's worth the investment. When you grow your business, you're going to spend money to grow it. So you might as well spend money becoming accredited with an organization that can support you grow it, that has already figured out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's no need to recreate the wheel, just learn from those that have already found solutions. So we know that a big part of our success is being accredited. And that's why many, many years later, we still, every customer knows about the BBB, knows that we've won the Torch Award before, knows that we're an accredited business. And we start that from the sales presentation all the way through install and even after. Check out our reviews. That tells you who we are as a company.
Yeah, I think more awareness like what we're doing today, and hopefully everybody that sees us today and all of the accredited businesses out there, that there's probably more that every accredited business can do to remind the customer about, hey, do a little bit of homework, be a little bit proactive, because you're going to have a better outcome. And that means, using the BBB as a resource when you're thinking about hiring, and make sure that you keep that on the top of your mind when you're talking to friends and family over the coming days, weeks, months, when you hear somebody else is maybe thinking about hiring somebody to do, a job, whatever it might be. Make sure that, that you don't fall prey to, the shot, maybe I can get something for half price. Sometimes we can get lucky and it has a good outcome, but is it worth the risk? And I think that's where we have to be careful and have to help each other in the community. Barry?
That's it. So thank you all. Thanks for this sector or type of business of improvement. Evie, is there one opportunity for a sponsor? They can call you, give you a number,
Yeah,
and
so
it's September 18th.
September 18th, 8 AM to 6 PM. If you want to call me, it's 804-521-6970. That's my direct line, but you can also email me at ekarageorge@richmond.bbb.org. Kara George, KARAGEORGE. And just let me know if you want to participate and reach out, or if you want to bring your team along with you, because that would be great too, and have those conversations.
And it's only a $950 sponsorship, and that's for all the
That's
meals.
$159.
That's it. That's all it is. So call Evie quick and get your name on the advertising,
Yes,
quick. All right.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Josh, for shut off the camera. Everybody, don't forget it's still live. So leave that.
Yeah, don't say anything crazy right now.